We're live, ADSN from Los Angeles. James, everything's right in the world again. It's like 80 degrees and sunny as I look outside my window. Not a better day than to do ADSN.
And we are a week away from you having to go back to the work world, I
Mm.
think. Is that a fact?
Don't remind me, please. That's a fact, but one that I'm trying to hold off for as long as possible, mentally at
I,
least. The
the you're missed. You're missed, my friend.
Well, not for long. But last night I was doing some light reading to try to get back into the mode. Um, Meta just released their earnings, and so I thought that was a good reentry point for me, and to get me excited about the world of ads again because they crushed earnings.
Give what's the TLDR of earnings? Like what's
The
the
TLDR is they did over $200 billion of revenue last year. Almost half the world's population is on there. 3.6 billion daily active people, as they call it. They're doing like a $60 ARPU.
it's crazy.
Globally, they spit out $45 billion of free cash flow. Like, for all the hate they get about like how much they spend, this company is printing money again.
It's wild to me to think that just how we help run like the first ads ever on that thing. I tweeted about this a while ago, but it's like when you find these platforms, like I'm very happy my life's turned out great. But when you find these platforms, you should not build a business to support them. You should just go work at them. It's like a very obvious thing. The guys who sat there from that first ad to this 200 billion are now, sitting there on yachts doing God knows what. But there's a good lesson in there. And I think we've talked about it last week with Super, but it's like, I think hopefully we can be a voice of reason for anyone who wants to start a chat GPT ads business. Just go DM Fiji and just try to get a job there. That would
Yeah,
be what I would do.
good job. Get a
Uh,
quick buy it on secondary for sure.
yeah. What did they talk? I didn't listen to the whole call. Did they talk in depth about the capex spend in terms of the data
Yeah,
centers?
I mean, capex is going to go up. I mean, they are becoming a data center and an energy company. Like like point blank. They're investing a ton in data centers and networks. And I don't know if you've seen recently, but they've done a bunch of deals with like nuclear providers, nuclear power plant energy providers. Like that is what they're going all in on. Is like if they can own that infrastructure, then they have a really good shot here. And so I kind of appreciate it. Like they're not fighting the same battle that like Gemini and Microsoft and Nvidia and these guys are. I mean, they are to some degree, but they're like, we'll own the power in the data centers and we'll be fine. And the rest will be a commodity at some point.
Is it all throughout the U.S.? Like they talk about, like, is there a global footprint to it, or is it? Yeah. How do they talk about it?
I don't know. I think a lot's of U.S. I don't know what the global expansion is. A lot of the power deals are in the U.S., like nuclear deals in the U.S. But they're not like bringing their foot off the gas pedal here. They're like, we are going to spend more money. Like, yes, we're going to spend less money on VR. We're going to spend a shit ton more money, excuse my French, on like data centers and energy. But everyone was pumped because they gave good guidance on like, but we're going to make more money than we've ever made before. And so their stock popped. And so like, despite spending more money than God, they are going to print more money.
Yeah, I saw a tweet saying that I think that all of their cash effectively is spoken for in future investments
Mhm.
on this.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
accurate?
so. But I mean, they're spitting off $45 billion of annual free cash flow. Like I think they're top five in companies with that kind of free cash flow. I think it's like, and I think two of the five are ads businesses. I think it's like Google, them, Microsoft is up there, Nvidia is up there, but like they are among the elite as it relates to cash being available to them.
It's crazy. It's I would not have predicted that A, they'd become an energy company, and then B, this would all be happening with the backdrop of TikTok now being like a legitimate US entity,
Yeah.
or like at least a lasting company that kind of no one seems to care about anymore. Like if you
No.
think of like if Zuck wanted to limit the impacts of TikTok and this was his master plan, like he's successfully done that. I'm not counting out TikTok, but they
Yeah.
seem super lost. And you sent me an article that it seems like at least it's imploding a bit.
I think they're having some challenges. I think users are kind of pushing back on the new privacy policies that, everyone, I haven't read them, but like, they seem a pretty aggressive. So I think users are moving off of that. I've heard numbers, yeah, that like the daily active user, like people have been moving in droves off of TikTok. I've heard from some college students that like they're using Instagram more and more. And so Zuckerberg just not doing anything seems to be the big win here.
Yeah. What are your college age friends? Are they on Snap at all, or is it all just
There's been,
is,
and this is like a,
how many college
sample,
age friends do you have?
this is like a
Like
sample
many?
size of two, and then speaking for their friends. But
Okay.
basically, like most people are going back to Instagram, so we're using Reels, and they're like, "Oh, are you reeling?" Apparently, is like a slang. I don't know what that
Oh,
means.
cool. That's interesting.
And then some on Snapchat. It seems to be a lot of Instagram. So if
Did
we've
you
got any
see?
college age listeners, we need you to verify this for us. Is this true or not?
Yes, you should, and use
Is this
Snap with
facts
the
or cap?
ads.
Yeah.
Did you see that our friends at Snapchat finally began the process of spinning out Specs, and so Specs is now a subsidiary of Snap. But I believe that will mean that going forward, they can start to report on the Snapchat app by itself.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. What's your take on it?
My take is that Snapchat as an ads business is an awesome ads business. It does almost $6 billion a year of ad revenue. We were there at the beginning, but very
Yeah.
proud of all the stuff we built around that. I think that business has had a huge amount of the stock has had a huge amount of pressure because it was absorbing all the OpEx tied to Specs. And I think it's awesome that it can be broken out. I think people have to know how great Snap as an individual app, an individual business is. And then I think you can make your own distinction around if you believe in Specs or not. It is hard to bet against Evan. Like he is right. He's always been right about where things are going. It doesn't mean that Instagram hasn't like outmaneuvered Snap, but I think it's kind of exciting. And the stock didn't really move, but I saw Rich Greenfield posted about it. I think people are like, it feels like it's step one, and then there's like rumors that that Specs, the new subsidiary, will announce a new funding round. And so, like, I think the more separation between like Snap and Specs, the better off it is for a lot of people involved. I don't know if you have the same read. Again, also biased, still a shareholder, talk on my book, but
Yeah. Not
uh,
investment advice. Um,
yeah,
no, I mean, it like brings me back to almost like Amazon, where, when they were running their ads business, everyone, obviously it was a very different business, but everyone was like, we want to see what ads contribute to the overall business. And they kind of kept it all baked together for so long. Snap is like doing the opposite. It's like everyone knows the ads business is so good, but there's all this bloat with R&D and OpEx associated with specs and hardware that like finally, your point, they can break it out. And I think it'll expose like how good that core business is, and like let's value that appropriately. And like if this thing spins out and does a different financing round, like value that separately as like a moonshot, but value this ads business like as it should be done.
well, what happens if Specs raises money and it gets valued at $10 billion? I mean, does that impact the stock at all? Like, how does this even work?
We need someone with a little more expertise. I think. I mean, if it's still one parent company, I mean
And like, it makes no
that's
difference, right?
dilution to the stock. They're issuing more shares or they're taking on more debt, and so like to the overall stock, who knows? It probably like it's all going to move, but at least we can see finally like what does the ads business look like just in
Yeah.
isolation.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic that like they're in the process of kind of breaking apart pieces. And then you, on the other hand, have SpaceX is now rumored to be buying AI
Yeah,
and like in the process X. So like SpaceX will own Twitter, which
yeah,
is and Grok, which is crazy. And uh, and then obviously Starlink, like, you know, I guess like when you have really good businesses, you start to combine them. Maybe if you have like more questionable businesses, you start to carve them out. Is that like,
well,
is
well, I
that
think,
maybe
yeah.
the lesson?
If we're, I don't know, if we're talking about how incredible it is that Meta's becoming like it's building its data centers and becoming an energy owner, like we got to talk about how Elon's basically controlling everything. He's controlling the internet, the energy, the humanoids to go do the work, the AI itself. Like he's got a whole little insulated society there.
And if he can just, if they create a hardware, but if they launch a Tesla phone one day, powered by Starlink, built around X payments, Grok, that would be pretty incredible. And they have data centers in space, and so Grok is like the most computationally like efficient AI. Like it's amazing to think that like that is the company that Snapchat has to compete against.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
different sports now.
yeah, like what are we even Meta now? Like being like a power, like you said, like an energy company. Like it's just like what this all got like really out of hand. Like this. How did we go from social networking to like nuclear power plants so quickly? It really like it
If this is
sounds
any
made
note
up.
for anyone getting into ads can subsidize a whole lot.
It is. It does make me pro ads.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes me pro ads is the Netflix ad that you sent me.
Oh yeah.
Netflix. What is that website? Oh, we got
It's
to pull this up.
Netflix.WB4EVA.
It's
I
so
mean,
well done. So basically, what Netflix has done is they went on the offensive and they put up a website talking about why it makes so much sense that these two entities come together. And
mhm.
it is like a parallax site. It's super. Uh, it's just super well done. It's like pretty. They talk about the transaction details in like very clear language. It it is like makes you realize how good these guys are. Like they're storytellers, and
Mhm.
they're not gonna let someone own the narrative on this thing.
No, and it to me it's like really interesting. It ushers in this kind of new era of like business warfare. It's like Paramount is going on the offensive in the old way. Like they're getting lawyers, they're getting a whole team to go, do injunctions and lobby for this. And Netflix is like, no, we're gonna own the story. We're gonna build our own narrative, and like good luck fighting it once it's out there.
Yeah,
Like,
they should put out a little documentary on Netflix and have all the Netflix people watch it. Like I watched this documentary the other day on Disney. This like we watch a lot of Disney Plus, but there's this thing about them making a Disneyland,
uh-huh.
and Walt Disney was like from a year beforehand was going on ABC basically just doing updates on like the progress of Disneyland and like just like conditioning people to be like, this is amazing. You need to know what we're doing here, and you
Yeah.
need to know we're going to hit these deadlines and like why it's good. Like they went like direct to like the people and like made them advocates and
Yeah.
exciting. And like in some ways, like I probably if someone would have got a 30-minute documentary about why this deal is so good, I would watch that. Actually, it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, so anyone should go check that out as like it's a masterclass of marketing and comms of how like, yeah, Netflix is going on the offensive. They're telling shareholders why this is good for them. They're telling consumers why this is good for them. And so I don't know how anybody fights that. Once they've convinced like the financial parties and the paying parties that yeah, this is going to be a net positive.
Yeah, it is. It is just like to me a sign like Netflix has another gear left in them. Like this is not a legacy business. Like they are fighting and they're like going to like start throwing punches. And I think as a consumer, it's going to be great. Uh, I was I was super impressed by it.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And um it reminds me a little bit. So, like, we've got the Super Bowl coming up, obviously, and so a lot of interesting storytelling is going to be done there through the ads. One that I saw on Twitter though is a vibe coding platform, Base 44, got bought by Wix over this past summer. They're going to
That,
be
that
they're going to have
he
a
got
Super Bowl
that
ad.
solo founder sold it for $80 million, right?
Yeah, yep.
I don't even think he raised money, and I think he vibe coded the platform.
He vibe coded the platform. I mean, the story is amazing. Talk about a
Yeah,
documentary. Like somebody needs to make a documentary about this. but Wix has bought a Super Bowl ad for this vibe coding platform. So like if there's anybody that was ever on the fence about vibe coding, like they should be off of it now because it's going to be on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, it's the train has left the station in terms of the vibe coding stuff and AI and you're seeing it. Like there was that news, um, Amazon I think laid off 16,000 people, if that's the right
Yeah.
number,
Yeah.
and they obviously blamed AI. I kind of call BS if it's actually truly AI, but
Yeah.
I almost think it's like it's less that they were able to. I don't think 16,000 people have become unuseful to them because of AI.
No.
I think they can get more productivity out of the remaining people via AI, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the bet where they're like, you know what, let's increase throughput post this riff
Yeah.
and let's offset all this capex that's coming in.
Yeah.
But it shows this isn't going away. Like this is
No.
the first of many stories like this.
No. And I mean, Pinterest also announced they're going to lay off 15% over the next 2 quarters. Kind of same story. And I think we all forget, and obviously it's not nice for anyone. Like obviously we don't want anyone to get laid off. We do forget that there was this like massive hiring spree over the last 2-3 years, like the COVID hiring push, and so now I think there is some over the last year there's been some correction to that, and we'll put it up on the screen, but there was an interesting report about about the effect of AI for entry for jobs, both entry level and senior, and what the correlations are. Obviously, I'm sure it's affecting it to some degree, but a lot of these layoffs, the interesting finding was they started happening pre-ChatGPT. So pre like this becoming really mainstream, the downswing was already happening. And so I think maybe AI is accelerating it and people think they can get more productivity, like you're saying. And so maybe it's a contributing factor, but it's certainly not the factor.
It it again, it makes you really. I mean, it's obviously like so sad whenever these rifts happen. But I think if you think there's going to be rate cuts and you think we're about to kind of go into like a kind of more risk on period, which I think is a reasonable thesis. Uh, a lot of these companies right sizing, a lot of them getting pretty fit, right? And like all like if people think there's a little bubbly feeling now, like what happens when SpaceX goes public for $1.5 trillion and buys X and Tesla and
Yeah.
you know uh, and AppLovin and Pinterest start showing us how much revenue per employee they can start to spit off. Like we may be entering into a very exciting little period. It may become too exciting, but you feel like people are starting to either they think bad times are coming, or I think a lot of people instead are getting ready for like what they think is going to be kind of a moment to push.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like that. I mean, we've seen like this correlation between monetary policy and like interest rates and like not just the economy and consumer sentiment, but like strength of businesses. And so if we think that's coming back down and we think deals like this are going to happen and this administration is like a little more deal friendly potentially, there might be this new wave of kind of excitement happening.
It reminds me of actually our newest segment, which is for the audience. So last week we had a new segment, primary posts, which we'll get to in a minute. But then this week we want to do a new one, which is called RFP. It's kind of like a reference to sort of the ads world, but it's a request for a personal introduction is really what this is. And the introduction that we're trying to get, I tweeted about this, is to none other than Ray Dalio. And what we'd like Ray Dalio, we like, if anyone knows Ray Dalio, we would like Ray Dalio to come on the pod and talk to us about the changing landscape, which he talks about a lot, right? About how like we're in this like new cycle, but then also just talk about what is the impact of ads and marketing in this new global connected world. I think we could have a substantive conversation with Ray Dalio. So we can put a link to the tweet. If anyone knows Ray Dalio, please introduce them to me first, not Daniel. I want to talk to Ray. And but yes, yeah. So maybe this becomes like a macro, economic oriented pod instead of media ads marketing.
And anyone who knows us knows that we like economics and banking systems, and so I think if we can merge the two, I think we're onto something, James. At least for the two of us. Maybe we lose all our listeners, but we're excited.
Well, fun, yeah.
With that, I guess let's do the primary posts.
Yes, it is.
All right, I'm going to start this. I've got two primary posts that I'm actually excited about. One, and I'll do the post. It's kind of a larger story, but it is the post. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was a creator that organically did a Dr. Pepper jingle. Some people may have heard of this. She went on TikTok. She's a big Dr. Pepper fan, and she sang a 10-second jingle. It went viral. Dr. Pepper found her, paid her $2 million, got the song, produced it. It ran in the CFP national championship game. They're now using it as like part of their ongoing kind of commercials. And now brands are coming all over being like, we want you to do like a jingle for us. And I think this is like indicative of where we're at. Like, we've talked about authenticity. We've talked about creators. Like, to me, this is all of it just coming together. This woman who said it turned her life upside down and like changed it overnight was messing around on TikTok and got a $2 million deal out of it.
It's awesome. I was introduced to a startup the other day called Wide Worlds, and they basically, different but similar. They are super smart team, but they are building tech with protected IP. So they're going to like IP owners and like, hey, let like people create a universe around like K-pop demon hunters, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll have all their lore in the context, but then you can create like all this like approved fan fiction and approved fan content. And it's kind of similar where like, if as long as it stays within like the canon and like the sort of the bounds of like what the IP represents, AI and these tools and all these creators could probably be incredibly useful. And it's sort of funny that it brings down the cost of creation for these platforms. And I was thinking about, I saw a tweet about this, about like how Netflix is sort of actually the TVPN guys talk about this. Netflix like is never going to become YouTube. Like, they're never going to have you just like let you upload anything, and that may keep it really more premium as opposed to just like kind of like UGC land on YouTube. But I think a in between spot could be, what if creators could create their own amazing content like for Netflix, right? Yeah. Like that would be a really good sort of intersection between all of it. So it's gonna become way different than it is today. And I think it's fun because like the talent is going to win, right? Like the really smart people like this woman you're talking about are gonna be rewarded for it. So it is very unlike a lot of other things to talk about with people getting fired and all that stuff. It's like actually really optimistic and like hopeful. So that's cool. Yeah,
that's cool. And then the other one, and related to what you're saying, is if anyone follows KB Lame or Kabi Lame, I don't even know how to pronounce it. He's like a TikTok creator that is just silent. He like does reaction videos. He sold his operating system and his likeness to a company for $1 billion all stock deal. Or like $950 million all stock deal. I mean, this is like, obviously it's a headline. It's insane, but it is like the talent is getting that power back now. It's not the talent as we grew up, but like talent now has the power back.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Maybe your Snapchat could get acquired for $975.
If everyone is looking for that IP, it's on the market. Yeah. The right offer. So those are my primary posts. What do you got?
My primary post is from our former boss at Snap, the one and only Imran Khan. You can follow him at .khan, DOTTKHAN. But I think he's arguably one of the best public market investors like in the world. And obviously we've seen him just do some pretty amazing things. But he tweeted he basically said, in the last 25 years, I've read the following stories. Netflix is going to go bankrupt because studios will get their lunch. Google is going to lose to OpenAI. He said for Meta, mobile will destroy their business. Booking, he was like Priceline will lose to Expedia. Booking's payout model isn't going to help. And then he goes on to say all these narratives. These were all narratives, and if you fall in love with those narratives, you have lost out on some incredible companies. Ultimately, domain expertise and execution matters. Today, with the onslaught of AI winners and loser narratives, it's important to stay focused on finding companies with strong domain expertise and a team that can execute well. New innovation could be disruptive, but also could be a great opportunity. And I thought that was super smart. And all these people who think they know what is actually happening right now don't really know is my takeaway. And I actually tweeted about this the other day too, about how so this is the second primary post, but can a primary post be my own post? Primary post, I think, has to be a third party post, not.
Well, now post. You've teased everyone. Now I want to hear it.
Okay. Well,
next week I'll do it for you.
Okay. Well, that's how we have to do that. But I tweeted about how the imminent demise of OpenAI reminds me a lot of the sort of 2010s narrative of Facebook is dying kind of thing. And it's what are you talking about? We all knew that wasn't the case. But you'd hear it. And I'd get when we were running Shift, I'd get calls from my dad, be I heard that Facebook's going to go bankrupt. And you're what are you talking about? And I think, if you're going to talk to the general people right now, public, ChatGPT's crushing it. I think most people are using ChatGPT. They're not really using Claude yet. Not everyone is Mike Christo. So yeah, I thought that was a great primary post. Emron's the man, smart guy. I'm gonna take his advice in this one.
Shout out Emron. Okay, I think those are good primary posts for this week. We covered it all. I think we have a great guest coming on, Sam Khoury. He's going to talk about more of that B2B content creation events. We're going to cover a lot with him. So why don't we take a break and move over?
All right, let's do it.
Today, we're excited to welcome Sam Khoury, Chief Strategy Officer of Marketecture. We've talked a lot about the creator economy, about events, about B2B, and no one better to join us than someone driving in all facets of this. So Sam, we're excited to kind of jump in and hear your take on where you're seeing the B2B creation space headed.
Thanks for having me, guys. Obviously, we've talked so much. The B2B creator space is, I would say, thriving, and mostly around the fact that authenticity has become way more important than it was historically. Historically, a lot of B2B media companies were very traditional in the way they publish and the way they promote and the way that they talk about the industry, whatever that industry is. But the B2B world now has changed. I think even with AI, even with generative AI, even with automation in all aspects, authenticity is becoming more important. And I think the conversation driving is becoming more important. So overall, B2B creator space is thriving. And fingers crossed, it continues to thrive.
And have you seen, I'm on X, and LinkedIn a lot, and I definitely see there's now this push for more kind of corporations and B2B to have more of a consumer voice. Have you seen that most companies you're talking to now understand that they have to shift how they actually communicate to other businesses? And then is there enough talent out there to create all this content? If a business says they want to do it, can they?
Yeah. I mean, Marketecture alone, we push so much content on a weekly basis, and we're relatively small in terms of full-time staff, right? And we push a ton. Do I think that they see the value in it? I think some do, and I think most are starting to see it. I think a big part of just the ease of content creation overall is that it doesn't require much resources to create the content. I think where people are generally miseducated on it or lack the education on it is the sheer challenge around distribution of the content. It's very easy to create a video, to do a post, and to get it out into the world. It's very hard to see scale. And I think that's where Marketecture in particular is really, really successful in terms of we can get this messaging out to almost 100,000 people. So the numbers are massive.
And how much content are you guys creating right now?
I posted last week because last week was a pretty aggressive push of content. I counted, and I may be off by a few, 96 pieces of content in a 6-day window.
That's a lot of content.
So it's a lot of content. And the content's created in like all formats. Like it could be written reviews, it could be news summaries, it could be podcasts, it could be pre-rolls. But the sheer volume of content that we push is a lot for a very lean and mean team.
And I mean, a lot of businesses, like to James, your point, they talk about this. They say, okay, we have to start creating content. We've got to get in the conversation. We have to be a little more authentic and approachable. But I mean, it has to be natural to the brand and their narrative. And I think you guys, Marketecture started as a really information value driven company with podcasts and interviews. And now you guys have kind of evolved that, but it all feels like one company. And so how have you guys been able to maintain, and how do you think other brands can maintain like a single cohesive like brand DNA, whether it's authentic Instagram posts versus maybe something more glossy interview?
So I think it comes down to like core pillars, as corporate as that sounds, and like we are such a lean startup. I think it's because we focus on really like key 3 things in everything we do, and it's important that we focus on it. So like the aspect of like content, community, and education or knowledge sharing. Everything we do has to revolve around those 3. So whether it's a published article written by Ari or somebody that we bring in as a guest contributor, or whether it's a post or whether it's a podcast, it should tap one of those 3. And if it's in person, it needs to touch one of those 2. So it's either community driven, like an ad tech God party, or it's knowledge sharing, like a Marketecture conference. If it doesn't touch one of those 3 pillars, it feels almost like foreign to us. So we really focus on that's like the 3 core things that everything we do has to revolve around.
And is everyone on the team allowed to post? Like, is everyone a content creator at Marketecture?
We're all content creators. Yeah, it is actually something that we push internally quite a bit. So I have not historically been very vocal on social. Tech God is social, Jeremy, Ari, but now you're starting to see way more posts from Amelia and Hannah. We want everybody involved, including myself. Like we should be promoting and sharing our thoughts and sharing what we know publicly. But it is like a hard Band-Aid to rip off, like the first few times you do it.
Well, and then I guess other hard Band-Aids to rip off, a huge part of your guys' business, at least from the outside, appears to be the event space, right? So it was content at the start. Now you guys are turning into this kind of events behemoth. Can you tell kind of, I guess, how big is this next one? And then just like if people right now are sitting there like, hey, I want to put on an event and use it as a way to generate revenue, how much work is this to actually pull off?
All right. So first, we went from 450-ish people for Marketecture Live 1 and 2. It was a 1-day conference. This conference is 1,000 people and 2 days. It sounds bigger. Like I think initially the thought was double the capacity, double the work, but doubling the day actually makes it more than 5x the amount of work. Like I think one thing that we've realized is they don't really add up as like 1, 1, 1, 1. It actually adds up more as like those 4 equal 10, because the sheer amount of coordination, marketing, breakdown of the audience that we want to attend, registration numbers, sponsorship numbers, everything goes up. And the fact that we've done it at probably one of the nicest venues in New York City helps create this young, hip, vibrant, environment rather than an older venue, which feels a little bit dated and out of touch. So it's a ton of work. Like there's a lot of us working on this. This is not just 4 people with Excel sheets. We've got a full crew.
And what was the key insight or kind of desire? Because you guys had such a strong media business, and we talked about starting with the value-driven stuff, getting more into social, and then it seems like a pretty big jump to say, okay, we're going to take all of that online kind of experience, and now we're going to move it into a in real life experience. So, like, what was the conversation, and why are you now you're doing 1,000 days?
Why in person? I can tell you that the trajectory of growth that we saw across the non in person the numbers were insane. We publicly shared that the revenue growth was 250%. That's our revenue growth. That's not necessarily our engagement growth, our audience growth. That's our revenue. And usually the revenue trails a little bit behind the growth because you monetize an audience after you've built the audience, right? So like as you're starting to scale to 100,000 people, you're now being able to say, hey, we have 100. You might hit 120, you move back. But the growth for us was so massive across our podcasts and our newsletters and our parties and the insights that we give out in our newsletters and our content. We felt that the market needed this like sharp take, no BS. We're going to call it as it is. This is not salesmanship. This is like pure, strong opinions and statements about the industry. And we went to market with it with Marketecture 1 and 2, and it seemed to work. So we decided to double down, if not quadruple down on this one.
And have you learned anything, I guess, like on the on like the strength of the, I guess, maybe like software or an ads economy right now? Like given like your sponsors and the types of businesses that are jumping in, like does this feel like a like we're in the midst of like a little bit of a golden time, or is it hard to get these sponsors to jump in? Like where are we in the cycle?
For the conference in general, like I think we've probably tapped nearly in the last 12 months, nearly 50 of the major ad tech technology companies have spent with us in some capacity. I think what we're feeling right now, and I say this with care and love for everybody we work with, I think everybody is feeling a little bit of pressure in 2026. And I think one of the big topics that we're moving into for the conference is how do we alleviate that pressure by educating you more on trends and topics that are happening. I don't think publicly people speak about how big of a risk the change is that's coming in the next 12 to 18 months. And this isn't fear mongering. I think this is true user consumer shifts in the way they consume content and how you can reach them. And I think people are generally trying to hide a little bit from it and hoping that it just goes away. But the consumer behavior is like absolutely changing.
Like, what do you think?
It's changing pretty.
What's like the what are you most not worried about, but what are you like kind of up thinking about?
I look at myself and my journey online and how that's changed. I think historically, Google was my source of research, my source of finding a restaurant, my source of taking a look at flights. My behavior has entirely changed. I start with ChatGPT. That's the first place I go when I say, what's the best alternative flight from Los Angeles to New York City? I click the link and then it lands me somewhere for me to research more. Any research documentation I need starts there. So my biggest fear and what keeps me up at night is what happens to the open web. And if these numbers continue to drop the way they have dropped over the last few years in particular, what is the best way to monetize this traffic? And that's really important for publishers to survive. But it's also really important for advertisers and marketers to understand how to target people because they're moving.
And so, like a trend like that, I think we've talked about on this podcast. We had Eric last week, Eric Seufert joined to talk a bit about those AI battles. How much of your programming then within the newsletter, within the content you guys do, you produce the short form and in person at the events is catered to kind of these topics that are a little bit more maybe worrisome or kind of on the top of a lot of people's minds versus maybe something further out, right? Or maybe something feel good. Like how do you program around that?
We program around what we think is going to benefit you over the next 12 months. So the content that we have, and the reason why we have such a diverse speaker lineup is for that. Like we understand that ad tech companies are important and they're absolutely our sponsors and they're partners that we work with, but we understand that the biggest challenge is also one layer or two layers deeper to the agency and brand level, which is why our presence is going to be really strong on that front. The things that we address are really varied, right? Like the demise of social, like we're seeing the new generations start to drop off of social media. Like we're starting to see that the attractiveness of social is not there as much anymore. we're seeing all generations across all age brackets adopt AI for research and learning and whatever editing is happening there. And what exactly does this mean for a brand? Like if they were targeting users on Google or on web pages, and now that user has shifted 30, 40, 50% of their time away and is using, Gemini, what does that mean for them in terms of targeting that user that was once on a website and is now no longer on the website 50% of the time? And so we really want to address on the advertiser and brand side, what does this mean for you? Like, how are you shifting your budgets? Like, how should you be thinking about the way you speak with your clients? As an ad tech company, what does this mean for you if you are servicing the open web? What does that mean in a better user experience for the ad formats that you have? And so we're really digging into the changing world, which I don't think has ever been bigger than now. Maybe the last time was maybe the shift to mobile. But I think this is probably one of the biggest changes we've seen in our industry in my life, at least.
And I guess it's funny thinking about the programming of like how much of it is like fear-based versus not like fear.
Yeah,
but,
well, that's why I said I'm not fear-mongering, but I mean, there's a lot of change.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of change.
Which I don't know if you can share this yet, but like what are you most excited about at this conference? Like which panel? Like what's the thing that like you actually want to learn more about?
I think there's one. So we got the commissioner from the FTC. I think that's going to be really interesting.
That's cool.
So he's going to be speaking there. I think that's really unique, and I've never seen that before at any conference. So I think that's one. We have, of course, the chief innovation officer at Omnicom Media Group. So I like the people that are a little unhinged. So I actually really look forward to, even though he's part of architecture, like I look forward to Ari's keynote. He says, I think the title is something like "The Children Are Wrong" in terms of how they're consuming data and what they're doing. But I honestly love the agency perspective. So probably Omnicom Media Group and the presentation by Dentsu, I think, is really interesting. But then we also have like Sophia Colucci, the CMO of Molson Coors. And I think hearing her perspective on what's happening is going to be really interesting also.
That's a great lineup. And I know at your last event, you had another great lineup, and our very own James Barrow was part of that lineup.
Yeah, he was great, by the way.
Got to put that in there, James.
Okay. So let me just say, you got fantastic reviews, like great reviews. So we sent out a survey afterwards, and yours came back as probably one of the highest scored ones. So you did a good job. Yeah,
I didn't. The audience can know.
You did a good job. You can blush. You can blush.
I can.
No. You did.
We got a new camera set up so they can see the blush come through.
Yeah, that's it. You can see it happening. Yeah, you did a great job.
If it was that good last time, I can only imagine how good it's going to be. 2-day event, 1,000 people. It sounds like a great lineup. And
we're going to have them come down from like a rope.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be something special that's going to surprise people. But no, Sam, we appreciate you coming on here. We are in a changing landscape. So to hear your perspective, and maybe we get you back on post-event and kind of a post-mortem of kind of what you learned, I think would be fascinating. But I think, and I'm going to put you on the spot, I think you've got something special for our listeners here. Is that right? I do.
And I love that we figured this out literally 2 minutes before recording. So if anyone's listening, I've created a code. It's SAM30, all caps. It's for 30% off the Architecture Live conference happening March 10th and 11th. It is at the Glass House in New York City. We have partnered with Adweek, and we've partnered with TV Rev. We've got everybody attending from Variety to OMG to Dentsu to Molson Coors. We would love you to attend. And that's 30% off. SAM30. And if you have problems, just message me.
All right, see,
we'll take care of it.
ADSN takes care of its listeners. We love it, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Of course. Thank you. Bye-bye.